We now have the chilling details from prosecutors that explain why Moore is facing felony home invasion and stalking charges. We did all the research for you, and we're going to bring it to you here on this episode of the Hunker Down podcast.
I know I'm asking a lot, you guys, but hunker it down one more time.
Before we get started today, I wanted to just take a moment for something personal. My son's high school team, the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets down here in Thomasville, Georgia, man, they just punched their ticket to the state championship. And as a dad, I couldn't be more proud of those kids, that coaching staff, and what they've accomplished this season. So if you're watching this video version and wondering why I'm wearing this hat, that's why. This one's for them. They couldn't be more prouder. It's been an awesome season for those guys. But let's get into this episode today, because what we're covering next is a very different side of sports, leadership and responsibility. So we promised you a deep dive into the Sherrone Moore case, and the details coming from his court arraignment, man, they're even darker than we ever imagined. This is no longer just a coaching scandal. It's definitely a serious criminal case. So let's start off with why he was fired. And it boils down to betrayal of trust and institutional policy. The University of Michigan requires all employees, especially coaches, to report any relationship that could create a conflict of interest, particularly with a subordinate staff member. Okay. Moore was married with 3 young children, and the university's investigation found what it called credible evidence of an inappropriate relationship. So they fired him, and they fired him for cause. So, and that's the key phrase there. He is fired for cause. Moore was on a multi-million-dollar contract, and by firing him for cause, meaning he violated the terms of that contract, Michigan expects to void the remaining money, and they're going to save millions of dollars in a buyout. That financial leverage alone tells you how serious the university considered this contact. So let's dive into the details of what all happened. Basically, the firing happened on Wednesday. Okay, just hours later, the situation escalated into a full-blown criminal investigation, and we now have the chilling details from prosecutors that explain why Moore is facing felony home invasion and stalking charges. We did all the research for you, and we're going to bring it to you here on this episode of the Hunker Down podcast. So basically, according to prosecutors, Moore and the staff member had an intimate relationship that lasted for a number of years. The victim allegedly ended that relationship on Monday, this past Monday. And after that, Moore began a barrage of calls and messages, just kept calling and messaging her. And of course, she did not answer. And this was all before the victim cooperated with the university's internal investigation. So prosecutors say that after Moore was terminated on Wednesday, he went to the victim's apartment. He forced his way inside, and that unauthorized entry is the basis for the 3rd felony home invasion charge that he received. So once inside, what happened? Once inside, Moore allegedly went into the kitchen. He grabbed several knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and that's when prosecutors say the situation became truly frightening. Prosecutors claim that Moore threatened to take his own life in front of the victim, saying, and they quote, "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands, and you ruined my life." And during this chaotic moment, the victim was able to call police, and Moore, once she did, left the apartment. Now, prosecutors have emphasized that while Moore allegedly grabbed the knives and the scissors, there's no evidence he directly threatened her, the victim, with those weapons. The threat, they say, was of suicide, but they described his conduct as terrorizing because the behavior was directed at his former partner. So let's look at the arrest. Police were dispatched following her call, the 911 call. Officers were told they were searching for a man who had reportedly put a knife to his own throat. Moore was eventually located at a church in Saline Township. and he was detained and then arrested and then booked into the Washtenaw County Jail. So while in custody, Moore was placed on a mental health watch. And this basically just highlights the severity of the alleged emotional breakdown that he was having. He later posted bond and was released under some extreme strict conditions. At the arraignment, Moore was granted a $25,000 bond. The conditions were severe. He had to have a mandatory mental health treatment, a GPS tether, surrender any weapons and his passport. He could have no alcohol or drugs, no travel without court permission, and absolutely no contact with the victim. So the judge described this as any form of contact the human mind could possibly fathom. So she's very clear on this. Moore now faces a felony third-degree home invasion, and that can lead up to 5 years in prison. And he's got some misdemeanor charges as well for stalking and breaking and entering. His next court date, a probable cause conference, is scheduled for January. Now, man, no matter how you look at it, this is a tragic and shocking end to a career that just weeks ago looked unstoppable. I mean, Moore was the offensive coordinator for a national championship team and widely viewed as a rising star in college football. His legacy is now, it's irreversibly damaged. Not just prior NCAA issues, like when he deleted the 52 text messages tied to the sign stealing investigation, but these deeply personal and criminal allegations. The conversation is no longer about football with him. It's about conduct, accountability, and legal consequences. Michigan, they now face some real turmoil. An interim coach for a bowl game, late December coaching search. Man, this is all coming at the worst time. And the looming possibility of players, they can start entering the transfer portal. This is a massive blow to one of college football's most storied programs. So this situation is a harsh reminder that when you hold a position of enormous trust and power, personal choices, man, they don't just affect you. They ripple outward, destroying families, careers, and sometimes institutions. So there you have it. The shocking, detailed truth behind the downfall of Sherrone Moore, from the sidelines of a national championship team to a courtroom facing felony charges. It's a story of power, betrayal, and catastrophic consequences. This investigation's far from over. We'll continue to follow every legal move, every statement from the university, and every development in this case. All source material, official statements, and timelines are linked below. I just want to thank you for tuning in for the crucial details on this case. And if you like this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into college football. And we'll see you next time. Without further ado, you know what it is. Go Dogs!
From Athens to the nation, I bulldogs in the game. Kirby Smart's the mastermind, remember the name. Leading with precision, championships in sight. 2021 and 2022, we secured the fight. Stetson thrown darts, cold and precise. Bowers in the end zone, clutch every time. No.